Okay, so in this video we'll cover some aggregate functions, the most common ones like some average, count and group by statement. So I'm going to go back to my data transactions, right? So let's see what we have. We have the state, region, the brand, how much the sale was, cost of goods, and so on. One thing we may want to do is summarize this data. So maybe we would want to know, like, we have sales for Adidas brand and we may want to know what's the total for Adidas brand sales and what's the total for the next brand and so on. So let's see how we can accomplish something like that. So I'm going to go back. So first of all, let's think about what we're trying to sum up, right? So we're summing up sales. I want to basically get it by brand. So the sales is our F column and E column is our brand, so F column is our sales. So I'm going to go back here, and if you're coming to this video without watching the first ones, basically what I've done here, I have right here my function, which is my query function, and it refers to my range of data on the other tab, and after the comma I refer to the cell where I actually write the actual statement, so this way I don't have to come back and update this formula every single time. If you're not sure what's going on here, go back and watch the first video. So what I'm going to do, before we used to just select the column F, so if I do select F, which was sales column, if you remember they should get us that column of sales. Right now what I'm going to do, instead of selecting F, I'm going to select some F and I'll use a function with parentheses. I'm going to hit enter. Given it second, you can see that we get basically the total of all sales by doing this, similar to using the sum function. What I'm going to do, I wanted to do this by brand instead of just getting the total, so after the sum I'm going to add space, and then I'm going to use a statement called group by two separate ports and a space, and we're grouping by that other column, which I believe was, if I'm not mistaken, we'll have to go back and check. So I'm going to type E. You can see we get some numbers. So I'm going to go back here and look. E is actually the brand, so going back here we get some totals, right? That's our totals. Now the problem here is that while I do have the totals for each brand, I don't know which brand is which out of these numbers. Therefore, when you do your select statements and you use your aggregate function, in this case sum, you will have to also select what you're grouping by. So if I'm grouping by E, I want to also select that so I can see which one is which. Right now you have two options. You can either do your E column on comma here, or you can do the other way around, do comma here and do your E column. Right now I want the brands to show up on the left, so I'm going to do E comma and space there. I'm going to hit enter, give it a second, and there it is. That's basically our total by brand, just like that. Now there are other functions we can use. Instead of getting the sum, we can get the average. So if we wanted to know what the average sale for this brand, we can simply just say AVG function, and keep in mind is not like average function in Google Sheets, which is the regular average function, is AVG is our aggregate function here. So I'm going to hit enter, and that should adjust to our average sale right there. If I wanted to know how many sales we had of that brand, we can simply switch this to count function, and that should tell us how many sales we had of each brand. There it is, that's our count function. So we're grouping by E. So if I go back, so if I wanted to basically get my sales by state, which is our D column, all I really have to do is go back here and instead of E type T, and instead of group by E I will also group by D, and instead of counting F, this is we want a total, will sum our F column. I'm going to hit enter, and there it is, our sales by state. This could get a little more interesting when you try to group by multiple fields. So maybe what we want to do, we want to first break it down by region, and then on a second level we want to break it down by state, so the region is the C column. So first I'm going to go back and update this and just use the C column to get a very simple and plain report like we did before, and this should break it down by region, and each region we should have multiple states right now. I want to break it down and see in Midwestern what are the states that we have and how much the totals are. So the state was D column. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to, after group by C, I'm going to do comma and do the D column, and since I want to see the results I'm going to have to add the column as a select column as well. So I'm going to hit enter, give it a second. There it is, we have our Midwestern, and you can see the states right there, and then we have the next one with our states and then next one with our totals. So we can basically do both, so we can group by multiple, and keep in mind that the order matters. So because I place C as the first group by first, it does Midwestern is the higher level, and then the inner level inside of Midwestern, that's going to be the D column, which is my states, and I'm getting my totals. And obviously instead of sum you can do the average, right, or any other function. Hopefully that makes sense. It's kind of similar to how you do pivot tables, and we'll talk about like pivot functionality as well in a later video. Finally, let's do one more thing. So let's say I also want to get the average, that sale F column, hit enter, and now we have both the sum and the average, and obviously I can do the count to just do another comma under the count. And finally, if we look at our cost of goods, it's in our G column. Let's try to extract that as well. So in our G column, I'm going to go back here and I'm going to do the average, the sum, the average of ourselves, and let's also do the sum of our cost of goods, and forgot what the column was, so I don't know. I guess it was G. Let's give it a try, and I'm going to hit enter, and then I'll go back and take a look what's going on there. So yeah, that was actually right. So that's our sum of cost of goods. So we can actually summarize multiple number calls. Make sure that when you're summing up something, it's actually a number that you can sum up or average, obviously, otherwise it wouldn't work. So that's for our basic group by statement and basic aggregate functions. Thanks for watching and subscribe for next videos.